Hi everyone, today is March 7th. Welcome to Konveyor community meeting. I am dropping the agenda in the chat. Please feel free to add yourself. And if you have any topics, add it to the agenda. We don't have anything for today, so I'm thinking this meeting could be an open discussion. Just anything that you want to chat about Conveyor. If not, then we can end the meeting in like 5-10 minutes. I will hang out for 5-10 minutes. Feel free to drop off. Just to make sure that if folks join late, I just want to make sure that they are heard. I did see a proposal from Yash Kare that got accepted into Open Source Summit North America. I just wanted to create some awareness since I also cannot stay silent. So that is the new thing that I saw on the Conveyor channel. That's amazing. I hope he gets to be in person and present, talk about Conveyor. I cannot wait to catch the recording about his experience. I guess we don't have any topics, but I will hang out. Other than that, please don't feel like you should be hanging out or giving me company.
Maybe someone would like to share something about the some new features worked on or some requests maybe.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Yeah.
them are in that enhancement phase right now and not actually anything to show.
Yeah.
I was there's one new feature in Analyzer that I think would be interesting to contributors. I was kind of hoping for Sean to join, but I think he's not on the call. Uh, I I'll just give a quick update on what the future is about. So Sean worked on this amazing thing uh, uh, for so as some of you know that Analyzer LSP is basically a rule engine that talks with different uh, providers themselves, defining uh, um, how a rules for a language should be written, what the output of those rules will be like, and we are growing in number of providers, different language providers that we are adding. And with that, one main challenge is that how do we communicate back uh, uh, this information that providers need in a rule, or the information that they generate in an output. And as part of that, Sean implemented a system where the rule engine is able to talk to the providers over the wire and get the schemas for inputs and outputs for each and every provider that gets registered. And then we are also we also added a new command that generates the schema. So that schema is going to include uh, the inputs to a rule in a rule, and also the information that gets generated as an output. And why this is important is because this is going to help a lot of contributors who want to validate rules uh, beforehand, uh, who want to, this just also serves as a documentation in itself. So you don't have to go look at the docs. This is all a part of the schema. You can load it up in your editor, and yeah, it'll it'll give you uh, uh, the whole schema of the rules. That's all I have.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yep.
If anybody wants, I know we talked before about some scripts we're putting together for a customer to do bulk analysis on, like a directory full of jars or WAR files. It's not 100% wrapped up, but it's probably good enough to show if anybody's interested in seeing what the scripts look like. Okay. It's a pretty quick demo, probably. So the first thing I'll show is let's kind of walk through this kind of quickly. So this is the PR that's in the analyzer repo, and these scripts are in hack right now. And so the working with the the customer, they have a couple of requirements, and they want to run the bulk analysis on the jars. And so they also need to include a maintenance settings file. So we kind of boiled this down to Dylan and I kind of boiled this down to two scripts. One is just to be able to list credentials, and then the second is so they can pick one. And the assumption here is they would create the credentials in the UI. And then the second script is used to control creating and monitoring analysis tasks against those. And so you'll see the first one, and I'm going to demo it, so I'm not going to walk through all of it. But this is what the PR kind of looks like. Let me flip over to this. So, is this big enough that people see this?
It is.
Okay, so the first script just lists credentials. I mean, it's pretty simple, but it just shows it. And so the idea here is that this lets them know which one to associate with it. And then the other script is this analysis.sh. And what it does is it has several options. Both of them require the URL to Konveyor. The second is a list, a directory, the path to a directory containing binaries, and this can be a directory tree. The optional credentials ID, we're kind of, like I said, we're kind of keeping this as sort of low tech, so they do have to go list them to get the ID. And then by default, it will go ahead and trigger and start off analysis tasks for each of these things. It ensures that the application exists and tackle it. It creates, or Konveyor, it creates it. If it already exists, it just goes and makes sure that it's there. But by default, it will do these things, and it will kick off the task. And then the -R and the -L are a combination options that let you monitor status of it. Currently, it just creates analysis tasks for those jar files or those applications that don't have a successful or scheduled task. You can override this with the -F to force it to go create new tasks for those things. And the -O lets them redirect the output to a file, because if it's 2,000 of them, they're not going to want to see this on the screen. So if we run this, you'll see, first of all, if I just do a listing, because I haven't kicked off any analysis tasks, you'll see that we found 3 jars, and there are only 3 jars, and it gives you a status dashboard of the counts for each of these. And so if I don't include the L, then it just gives you this. And so if we want to go ahead and kick these off, we'll run the same thing, and you'll see that it created applications for these. It created applications for each of these. It created tasks for each of these, and we'll see here that we'll see here that we have 3 of them. We had 3 of them that were pending. I'm sorry, are at running. If we'd done it fast enough, you'd see that 3 of them were in pending. And then if we just watch this now, this again, you probably wouldn't watch this with the long listing, but you'll see that it's done that. I'm going to flip over real quick to show you in Konveyor. We basically have the 3 applications that we created here, and again, the same in progress status. And then I'm going to try to talk. This doesn't take very long, but I'll try to talk long enough that, or actually take questions, but I'll talk long enough for this to complete. But the idea is that users will, you can create these big trees full of, or directories full of WAR files, and then this gives you a way to trigger the analysis and monitor the progress on them in a tabular state. So anyway, any comments or questions? All right. Okay. So
yeah. I raised my hand.
Yeah.
So I feel like this at some point should become a first-class use case for Contra. Like it's cool to have this as a script, like as a workaround, to have something to make something available for someone that needed it in the very short term. But this seems to be a good use case for Contra at some point. I don't know if you guys agree with that, or Dylan, you're on mute. I feel like you're talking.
Thank you. I totally agree. I opened up just an RFE in the enhancement repository that kind of, I think this would fall under, which is basically within Contra, let's have like a hub subcommand just for interaction with the hub. Because even what he's doing here, which is just listing the status of analysis, I see that as being a useful tool to have from Contra itself, right? Like just listing the API endpoints and viewing the data in the CLI. So whatever enhancement we decide to put forward for hub communication, I completely agree. I think this would be, Contra hub import type thing, and then pass it a directory, right?
Yeah, the thing is, back in the day, when we were working on Tackle 2, which I think was the first version of Tackle, like this predates the Konveyor days. The first version that had integration between the application inventory and the analysis engine, Windup, back in the day. We made some trade-off because the user interface that Windup had, the web interface that Windup had, allowed you to, if you wanted to analyze binaries, it allowed you to upload multiple binaries. And the whole uploading part got kind of messy, and there was no concept of an inventory in Windup. There was a concept, it was more like projects. So it was hard to manage this use case of being able to analyze multiple binaries that don't come from a binary repository. And looks like there is a need for that. And I feel like this is the cleanest way of doing this. Instead of trying to model everything from the web UI, allow the CLI to drive the creation of those jars, wars, whatever they are, as applications in the inventory from the local workstation. This is super cool. And I think it solves an actual problem.
Yeah, big +1 here. And I've been using this script at scale, like just in the past 15 minutes, and it's been really, really working like a charm. So it's cool that the whole thing is just, deferred to the node scheduler. I kicked off like 1,000 just now, and it's all just sitting there pending, knocking them out on its own, time frame. So.
Yeah, I think I think this has been a good exercise, and I think I agree with what you're saying, and Ramon. I think this will give us a low cost way of figuring out like what's the best way to support this workflow. So, and then we could codify it and more formally in something like the CLI. We'll have a good idea of what we're trying to do.
This kind of opens the door for something we've been discussing for a while, like this, using the hub in an Envoy way, like you have the CLI, or you might have in the future the IDE plugin, and being able to run stuff in the hub, but retrieve the results for that locally. So this has been kind of, although in this case the results of the analysis will be stored remote in the hub database, but this kind of is the first time in which we've had this interaction from something that runs locally against a remote Konveyor instance. I think this is interesting, and again opens the door. I would like to have something similar to this on the IDE department as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think the point I'm trying to make is that we'll want to be cautious about, like, we'll want the CLI to be a toolkit with the right set of tools that are, in my opinion, need to be in various abstractions from the hub API and data model, to where they can combine these tools to do workflows that, like, where we can add value. So for example, the reason why this script is so easy to use is because it's tailored to support a workflow where you've got these binaries in this directory and it's tying everything together for you. I can see us breaking this down into a number, like a different, like maybe like a combination of CLI options, if you will, or subcommands that lets you do this sort of thing really easily. But finding that exact, figuring out exactly what that is will take a little bit of time. But I think it's not really. I just want to just make sure we're thinking the same thing, that it's maybe it's tailored to support certain workflows, but it needs to be more intelligent than just a CLI wrapper around the API.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it needs to be cohesive.
Yeah,
we shouldn't have stuff in there just for the sake of it, like
right.
actions that expose the API that don't make sense in the context of the local user. So it should be use case driven, not just API endpoints driven. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm already getting some ideas, and I can go to the issue that Dylan created and write these up where you could. I mean, the only thing that's particularly opinionated about this is that the source, like the scope of what the script is operating on, it starts with the jar files, and so with those jar files, it created applications with the name of those jar files so they can correlate those things, and then it's going in grabbing the tasks for those particular applications. You know what I mean? And so being able to do that, where the source that's driving the whole thing, isn't necessarily a list of jars. Maybe it's some way that the user can specify it for certain applications and then go from there. But I can see us being able to break these tools down to be really useful, and then but just give them different ways to come at it. To determine the set of things that they care about when they're doing it. Anyway.
Sounds good. This is super cool.
I will mention the other thing I was talking to Dylan about this morning is I'll probably give another option that lets them go and cancel all the tasks associated with it, because for what Pranav just said about being a testing tool is that I know that in the course of my testing, there are times when I'll kick off like 100 of them, like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. Especially the thing that was sort of challenging about kind of getting this working, or what is that as I was testing it, I was able to put my user hat on, and I was imagining, okay, what if I forgot to associate the credentials? I kick off 2,800 of these tasks, and they're all starting to fail like crazy. Well, I just want to kill the whole thing. So anyway, kind of along the lines of us being able to this scripting this gives us a good opportunity to put our hands on this and put our user hats on and try to figure out what all functionality needs to be there to really make this usable.
Cool. If we're done with that, I would like to add before we finish the meeting today that we will be at KubeCon EU. We have a lightning talk that has been accepted on the main event on Tuesday. We have 5 minutes to talk about Konveyor and the upcoming roadmap for the project. That's going to be happening at 12 p.m. in the main event pavilion. And then we have a kiosk for Konveyor in the CNCF project pavilion. And we will have that kiosk on Thursday afternoon. So I think from 12:30 on, we will be there. We'll have Juanma, myself, and Alex. And we'll have swag, stickers, t-shirts, stickers, and we'll be around for just if anyone is going there, we'll be there. We can have conversations. I guess today's mostly Red Hatters on the call, but well, just if anyone else watches the recording at YouTube, we will be there.
That is so cool. Save me a t-shirt, Ramon.
Okay. Probably the logistics for getting that sent to you is going to be tricky, but we'll find a way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I so I want to first say kudos to Villanet for making this meeting engaging and saving me from saying awkward, weird things. I appreciate it. And thanks to the team for joining in sportively. And I feel like today is one of the meeting where we it's an example of the true spirit of community call. I loved it. Thanks, Jeff, for the impromptu demo, and Pranav, Ramon, Dylan, everyone who engaged in the conversation. I appreciate it. I do see a pull request on the chat. Is it related to the thing that you're working on, Jeff?
Yeah, I forgot to post it earlier in case anybody wanted to look at it.
Cool. I'll put it in the agenda. So before we wrap up, does anyone have any other topic or discussion? Oh, cool. Go ahead, Dylan.
Not really a topic, but maybe a request or suggestion. David, you were talking about enhancements that we have that are currently under review. So I'm thinking maybe if there is some spare time, maybe we can go through something around this, maybe today or in the next meetings, whatever can be appropriate.
Any thoughts on that?
That was just a suggestion, like not something that we have to do, but something that I think that can help with accelerating the reviews and the discussion around the enhancements.
Would you be able to repeat it for me? I'm sorry. I think I missed like the essential
didn't?
stuff.
I'm saying we have open enhancements under review, right?
Mhm.
So I was thinking maybe to accelerate the reviews, maybe we can go through those PRs and enhancement PRs and like talk about them here and like see if we can have some inputs with the frame of this meeting.
Yeah, I guess my question, like some of them have been presented in previous community meetings. Is there is there a way we should have done it differently to like accelerate them?
You mean all the current enhancements that we have currently are already been presented? Like,
Right, like last week or 2 weeks ago, I presented the enhancement for the .NET work, and I think it was 2 weeks prior to that there was the multi-provider and the one Pranav was working on. So we've had like several of them presented in the community meeting.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess what I was just trying to make sure, like,
maybe it's
Is-
already maybe
is
it's
that-
already covered, and I'm just have the notion that I'm missing something that might be already out there, like not already presented. But if it's already covered, then I'm good with that. I can also go through again, record previous recordings. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think so. I only meant in the sense that if the way we were covering it wasn't sufficient to get review, I think my take on it is it's a lot easier for us to hear people talk about it and maybe give a quick demo and say, "Oh yeah, that's cool," and then to read a document and say, "Yeah, I put your seal of approval on it." I think that's what slows them down, is actually giving it that the level of attention it deserves when it's in writing and it's getting accepted. I think that's what slows it down.
Okay.
But I want to say, like, I absolutely agree that presenting them in the community during this phase of a release where we're talking about enhancements, I think would greatly help us like speed it up and get buy-in and maybe get more feedback on them. So I totally agree with that. But yeah, I knew it was like Sam had given a presentation on some of the Kubernetes rules, and it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And then you read it, and you're like, I want to provide some meaningful commentary, and it just takes more time, and then you end up like getting distracted, and that stuff happens.
Fabian, you raise your hand for a second.
No, just getting out of the car. Sorry.
Okay. Are we done, or shall we keep with the awkward silence for? Okay, Yash, go for it.
Hey, hi everyone. I just wanted to give a big shout out to the team, Konveyor, because due to you guys, I've actually completed a LFX term last summer, and then my talk got accepted for Open Source Summit North America, and that I'll actually share what my learnings were at the Konveyor and how Konveyor is actually helping organizations migrate to Kubernetes. So my talk would actually revolve around why Kubernetes is actually kind of tough for people and organizations, and how Konveyor is helping do that migration. So I'm super
Congratulations
excited.
on that.
Thank you.
That's super cool, man. Yeah, I told you on chat if you needed some collateral like slides and so on and so forth. I look for what we have in public and have it shared with you, so you can have even the Konveyor template deck in case there's no fixed deck fixed template in the event itself. And there are many diagrams and things in there that I think will be helpful for you.
That would be great. Thanks, Raman.
You're welcome.
We might be able to promote this talk in the kiosk area too. I think the KubeCon comes first before the open source Summit North America, if I'm not wrong. like just to get the project's presence out that we would be having a talk. Just an idea, like. And congratulations, Yash. I should have said that first. I had that in my brain, but then I started talking about something else.
Not issue. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Open source summit is, I think, in April.
Yeah.
So April happens, I think, 2 weeks. So
All right, then I'm gonna break the awkward silence now. Cool. Before I end the meeting, last call. Does anyone have any other topics that they want to discuss? All right, folks. This is the end of today's meeting. Thank you for participating, bringing in your ideas, demos, and questions. I appreciate it. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks. And if you have any topics in the meanwhile, if you want to discuss about the enhancements that we talked about today, and anything related to Conveyor, please feel free to make a post in the Slack channel that is open 24/7. And please also, if you want to kickstart a email thread, we also have mailing list. You can reach us out there. And I will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.